Can introverts make effective leaders? That is the million-dollar question. And so today we're going to be talking about not just can introverts make effective leaders, but how as an introvert, if you're listening to this, you can become an effective leader in whatever situation you're in and whatever organization you're in. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Stay tuned. Welcome to Quiet Voice, Fearless Mind, where we help introverts and aspiring leaders to become who they want to be. My name is Terrence Lee, aka the Introvert Leader. Welcome to the show. So what comes to mind when you hear the word leader? When you hear that, what do you think about? I know that for me at one point when I used to hear that word, I would think about the person that, there's a table full of people in a room and this person bursts into the room and they're giving everybody orders. They're telling everyone what to do and they're the boss, right? That's what I used to view leadership as. I don't know how you view leadership or when you hear that word, what comes to mind, but I want you to think about that. When you hear the word leader, what is the first thing you think about? And now I want you to think about, do you see yourself as a leader? So for a long time for me, I'll be honest, I didn't see myself that way. I didn't see leadership as something that had anything to do with me or anything that I could do. Because when I viewed a leader, I viewed it as something that was not me. So the turning point for me came within my first year as an engineer at a school. There was a particular guy, Brian Fields, and he was super smart guy. He was my mentor, and he put in his 2-week notice. And there was a big presentation he had coming up that he was going to be giving to some very smart people. Some very smart people across the company. And he had been mentoring me on this particular capability on the aircraft we were working on. And I found out that instead of him giving the presentation, because he was about to leave the group, I had to give it. And I was like, who are you all talking about? What do you mean I have to give the presentation? Like, I don't even talk in front of people. I don't do this. And I'm still trying to learn all this information, right? So I was super nervous, super scared. And what's crazy is I had a lot of help from him before he left. There was also someone by the name of Robbie Vaughn that helped me out a lot, another mentor of mine. And the two of them really poured into me. And I gave the presentation and I did great. And it felt amazing. It felt amazing to just do something that I didn't think I could do. And people told me I did a great job. I got a lot of good feedback from it. So that for me was really, I think, a turning point in my career.
Introverts are too quiet and too weak to lead. Have you ever heard this before? Well, my name is Terrence, and for years as an introvert, I didn't think I had what it took to be a leader. What I learned was being an introvert is my superpower. If you want to learn how to have success as an introvert, then go to quietvoicefearlessleader.com to learn more.
So from there, things really shifted. I began to have people saying to me that they saw leadership potential in me and they saw me as a future leader. I got nominated for a leadership program at the company I was at. I did rotations within that program. That was an amazing experience. And I began to get promoted to leadership roles. And so I became a technical lead for a very large aircraft program with a lot of visibility, very high pressure environment. Didn't think I could do that role, and it actually went very well. And that gave me a lot of confidence just getting through that. And today I'm now in program management. So I manage large contracts for the US government for a Fortune 500 company. And just really looking back, all of those experiences and everything, it truly changed the way that I view leadership and the way that I view myself. What's your story and how do you view leadership? How do you view yourself? What's your mindset about all of that? Because it's very key. It's key to understand the way that we think about these things, to understand our story, where we come from, and how all of that ties in to our views when we hear the word leader, when we hear the word leadership, and all of these things. So the reality and what I've learned is that leaders are made. A lot of people have the debate about whether leaders are born, whether leaders are made. To me, leadership is a skill. And so whoever you are listening to this, you have the ability to lead. And by the way, when I talk about leadership, we're not just talking about just at work or in business or situations like that. We're also talking about in your personal life. Leadership applies to leading a family. It might apply for you. You might be at a local church or some nonprofit and you're a leader. Whatever the case is, leadership is at play. So if you're someone that doesn't see yourself that way, you think that because of your personality or because of who you are, you're not a leader, you absolutely can be, okay? And so we're going to get into some practical tips for how you can become a great leader as an introvert. So the first thing that's going to help us to be effective leaders as introverts is to be ourselves. Be ourselves. Being authentic is huge. So this is something that can be hard because we may feel like we have to be someone else to lead. Right? We may feel like we have to act a different way. We can't truly be who we are. The reality is, when I found my strength was when I leaned into who I already was. A lot of what I needed was already within me. I just didn't know it. So I had a lot of strengths as an introvert. There are things with your personality type that help you to be a better leader. The fact that you're probably a naturally good listener. You're probably good at observing people. You're probably good at showing empathy to others and being able to really understand where people are coming from. So these are all things that you may not even realize they're strengths. But with your personality type and who you are, whoever you are, right? Because everyone is different. There's something about you that makes you uniquely qualified to be a leader. So lean into that. Be authentically yourself. The easiest thing to do is to be yourself. So when you lean into that, all it's going to do is make you more powerful. If you lean away from who you truly are, you're going to be faking it. And then over time, you just can't maintain that and can't keep that up. All right. So make sure you're always being authentic, being true to who you are. So the next thing we've got to do, and this is very big. I used to make this mistake all the time. This is what I did. We've got to stop comparing ourselves to extroverted leaders. Okay. We've got to stop looking at what everyone else is doing when you're looking at the person that's doing all the talking in the meeting. Or you're looking at that family member and they're the one that is always the most outgoing. They're always at the dinner table doing the most talking or whatever the case is. That's okay. That's them. Let them do them. Let them be themselves. That's fine. It doesn't mean that just because their style of talking or their style of leadership is the right way to do it. Just because someone's talking doesn't mean they're a better leader. There are people that talk just to talk. It doesn't mean there's substance behind the words at times. Okay. So focus on being yourself. Focus on just running your own race. I mean, that's really what it is. You know, you think about horses and how they put blinders on horses so that when they're in a race, they're not looking to the left or to the right to see what everyone else is doing. They're looking straight ahead and they're focused. So don't compare yourself to anybody. Don't look at what anyone else is doing. They're running their race. So run your race and you'll be okay. Another tip and something that really helps a lot is to study other great leaders. So one thing that I've really had just the privilege of throughout my career is interacting with some amazing leaders. So, you know, when you get to just see somebody that handles leadership and working with a team a certain way, you see the way that they treat their team, you see the way that they handle pressure, you see the way that they handle making tough decisions, and you get to see that and you notice it. When you notice that and observe it over a period of time, you can begin to model that. So just, you know, me having some amazing leaders that I've had the privilege of working with and getting to really just shadow them for a while, that made a huge difference for me. Because I said to myself, you know, when I'm in a position of leadership one day, I know things to do. I also know things to not do. On the flip side, you might see some bad leaders, people that are not the best with dealing with people or not the best with dealing with tough situations, right? And you want to do the exact opposite of what you see them do. So it's being around great leaders and observing what they're doing and then also realizing the things that you don't want to do as well. The next tip, and I'm going to encourage anyone listening to this, if you haven't already done this, I'll encourage you to do this today, okay? And that is to get a mentor. Get a mentor, somebody that can just kind of breathe life into you, somebody that you can shadow, you can watch the way that they work, the way that they do things, right? Because when you have someone that's already been there, someone that's already been down the block, they've been down the road that you're trying to go down, whether it's at work or in business, personal life or whatever, having a mentor, somebody to just coach you makes such a big difference. I mean, for a long time, I tried to do things by myself, do things on my own, and it ends up just taking you longer. It ends up with a lot more frustration. You make a lot more mistakes. You end up bumping your head in a lot of situations where you don't have to. And I know because that's what I did for years. I would just try to do things by myself and I would try to figure it out along the way. And you just save so much time, so much heartache, so much pain when you have someone that's already been where you're trying to go and you allow them to coach you and mentor you. So I would highly suggest, if you're listening to this, if you don't already have a mentor, seek out somebody that you trust, somebody that you really admire and have respect for, and ask that person if they'd be willing to mentor you. You'd be surprised. A lot of people want to mentor people and want to help people. They just haven't had someone ask them. So be that person that's willing to ask for help, okay? Again, I didn't do this for a long time. And when I finally started to do it, totally changed my life. So please get a mentor. And the last thing that we want to do when it comes to becoming effective leaders is we want to make sure that we're putting people first. Put people first. So a lot of people think about leadership and they want to advance up the corporate ladder or they want to advance in business and get their business more profitable because they want their name in lights, right? Or they want their name on some organizational chart, or they want to get the glory. They want to be featured and be highlighted. Well, the reality is leadership is really about putting your team before yourself. So being an effective leader, and I've realized this over the years, is it really is about service. It's about serving your team. It's about how can I prop up this person? How can I make this person more successful? How can I make sure that they're in a position to win? If this person is within my organization, I want to set them up for success. If they did something really well, if they're performing well, I want to make sure that they get highlighted and they get recognized. See, that's the piece of leadership that a lot of people don't know about. And some of it is, I didn't know about it. I didn't realize that it really is about service. And so if you love serving people, if you love other people getting recognition, and you love just being able to help people win, putting people in a position to succeed, then I will say leadership is for you. So make sure that it's about people first. It's not just about making money or getting some position, getting some title, or being a manager, right? Because management is really just a title. Leadership is something completely different. So if you're going to be an effective leader, make sure that it's about people first. You show empathy. You're really about building people up and helping to get them to the next level. If you do that, you can absolutely be an effective leader. So listen, I hope you found this episode to be helpful, whether you're someone that is brand new to leadership, or you're someone that's an experienced leader just looking to hone some skills, or you may be someone that is the way that I was, where you just never saw yourself as a leader and you maybe still don't. Well, hopefully this episode gave you a few tips and some things that you can put into practice and really start implementing today. So before we go, just going to leave with a really quick quote from Henry Ford, creator of the Ford Motor Company. And you've probably heard it. It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. And it says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Okay. So the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you view yourself, whatever your mindset is, if you have a mindset of positivity, if you have a mindset of openness, if you view yourself as worthy, you view yourself as someone with potential, someone that can get to where they're trying to go. When you begin to think of yourself that way, then you can accomplish the impossible. You have power. When you start thinking that way and turning any negative thoughts into positive thoughts and things that can empower you, it changes everything. So until next time, remember this: there's only one you, and there's only one life, so make it count. God bless.